Section 3 of creating a contractor ergonomics program to reduce soft tissue injuries among construction workers discussed the importance of setting your ergonomic goals and introduced the 5 key elements of an ergonomics program. Section 4 focuses on developing the 5 key elements of a good ergonomics program. The complete program is available on the Best Built Plans Contractor Training Program page found at www.bestbuiltplans.org. This contractor program is part of the Best Built Plans program, which includes resources to help you plan and train for safe materials handling at each phase of your project to reduce the risk of soft tissue injuries. The first step in developing your ergonomics program is to identify the ergonomic hazards your employees face and set goals for addressing them. Once you've done that, you are ready to develop the 5 key elements of a program. The first element is planning to mitigate the ergonomic hazards. The next 3 elements involve identifying the methods that will be used to mitigate the hazards. They include defining the work processes or steps for how the work can be done to control the hazards, making sure the proper ergonomic equipment is available, and training employees to ensure you have knowledge and awareness of ergonomic work processes and proper use of equipment. And the last element is engaging in an ongoing review to check to see if the ergonomics program is working as planned. These elements should be systematically applied to every construction project and should involve all levels of employees as much as possible. Now let's focus on developing the specific elements of your ergonomics program, starting with elements 1 through 3, which include project planning, work practices, and proper equipment to address the ergonomic hazards. Your plan should define the best ergonomic work practices that will be followed and include finding the best ergonomic tools and equipment. It is important to remember that renting instead of purchasing the tools and equipment may be an option, as well as coming up with solutions of your own. Contractors and workers have developed some excellent work practices for one project that the workers in the same crew continue to use on future projects. Sadly, these ideas are not always picked up by other crews in the same company or adopted by the contractor for use company-wide. Having an ergonomics program can help you capture these work practices so the company as a whole will benefit. Planning for lifting and moving materials to reduce force and prevent injuries is an essential part of any construction ergonomics program. A first step is to think through how you are going to do the work and what equipment will be needed, the engineering controls. You should consider different aspects of the work, including the weight of the load, the size of the load, such as long pipe versus large boxed material or loose fittings, the distance to move the load, and the surface to move the load. Although this information may seem like basic knowledge, many workers don't have the proper equipment needed when the materials needed to be lifted and moved. That's why involving your construction workers in planning work is critical. Your plan should include how you will provide your employees with the lifting equipment for the heavier loads and train them on how to use the equipment. This slide shows several examples of lifting equipment. Additional examples can be found on the Best Built Plans program contractor planning tool. You can scan the QR code to retrieve these resources. Since many of these tools are on wheels, it is important to also include steps for keeping the work area clear of obstacles and debris. In other words, engage in good housekeeping practices. It is also important to consider the job site layout when planning for how materials will be lifted and moved, where the lifting equipment will be located, and as mentioned in the previous slide, the steps that will be taken to ensure clear paths. Doing so can save time, reduce the risk for injuries, and improve productivity. This slide shows an example of a good work layout. The green line indicates the path a worker would travel to retrieve the equipment and materials and move the materials to the location where they will be installed. This spaghetti chart is a visual way to see how best to move materials and avoid wasted motions and obstacles that likely increase fatigue and risk for injury and reduce productivity. There are a number of solutions or controls that reduce the risk of ergonomic hazards. Some controls reduce the risk better than others. This figure shows the hierarchy of ergonomic controls. The types of controls at the top of the triangle are the best, while the controls at the bottom are the least effective for risk reduction. Eliminating the hazard or substitution that reduces the hazard in the task are the best controls. Ergonomic controls generally use equipment or to reduce the risk. An earlier slide showed examples of types of equipment used to lift and move heavy objects. Scheduling, or what is more commonly called administrative controls, shares the work between workers. Work practices controls use the best methods to perform the task. Example could include using safe lifting techniques or team lifts. PPE and other protective measures is the lowest control that offers the smallest benefit. Examples include knee pads or stretching exercises. If you have no other option, stretching exercises may be helpful. It's helpful to lay out your plan to address ergonomic hazards based on the hierarchy of controls and to identify controls at each level, because sometimes workers are unable to use the best control and must resort to one that is only good enough. Here is a simple matrix of solutions that could be used for 3 different hazards: manual materials handling, work below knee, and arms overhead. If we look at the ergonomic hazard of manual materials handling, an ergonomic control would be to use a mechanical assist. An administrative or scheduling control would be to assign more workers to the task. A work practice control would be to position the material as close as possible to where it will be installed. And an other control would be to stretch before and after the task. Remember to implement ergonomic controls over all other methods if possible at all times. Next, create a simple form or checklist to list how tasks will be done. This information may be listed in your safety program or on a site-specific safety plan and will need to be communicated to your workforce. This slide shows one example. The Best Built Plans program includes a workbook, individual worksheets, and checklists that you can use and tailor to create your site-specific safety plan. The fourth element of a good ergonomics program is making sure that workers and management have the knowledge and awareness to understand the body's physical abilities and limitations, recognize job-specific ergonomic hazards and work tasks, and identify appropriate controls and work practices to prevent injuries. We have developed a free worker training program for apprentices and other workers that is available for use with your employees. This training program covers basic ergonomic information and lift training techniques and includes a hands-on module, computer and app-based training components, and a refresher module for workers who have received the basic training. It is important that all employees be able to recognize ergonomic hazards so they can help plan for solutions. The worker program should be provided not only to workers and foremen, but also to project managers, estimators, and other staff so all are aware of ergonomic hazards and solutions. You can scan the QR code to retrieve this program. The final element in a good ergonomics program is review. This step allows you to gauge how well your program is working, helps you understand whether modifications are needed while the project is underway, and at the end of the project, provides you with the information you'll need to look back at the project to identify what worked well, what did not work as planned, and what needs to be changed on future projects based on lessons learned. Most contractors rely solely on their OSHA log, injury records, or experience modification rates, their EMR, to assess their program's effectiveness. Although these are commonly collected metrics for business requirements, These lagging indicators are not sensitive to early program improvements or failures. It's best to collect one or more leading indicators. Examples may include tracking of training records, reviewing planning documentation for compliance, or collecting and reviewing discrete worker observations or job site audits. In addition, ask your employees, including the ones performing the work, if the program is working. Engaging your employees will be a sign of management commitment to making improvements and encourage honest and constructive input. Finally, review other materials, including your OSHA log and EMR. This ends section 4, which focused on the 5 key elements that need to be developed as part of your company's ergonomics program. Section 5 introduces common work practices that can lead to injuries and how to prevent them.